Funerals in South Africa are known for the financial burden they can put on families, with scores of people coming from far and wide to pay their last respects. Could regulations limiting mourners to 50 be a blessing in disguise for those who feel that large numbers at funerals pose an unnecessary financial burden? Joining me to talk about this is author and co-founder of Bookwormers, GP Lorrain Sithole. Lorrain, good evening and thank you for your time tonight. Talk to us about the experience of arranging a funeral under lockdown.
Good evening and thank you so much for the invitation. Yeah, arranging a funeral during lockdown has really changed the way that I view funerals as a black woman in South Africa, especially as a black woman from the township. I had my dad passed away just in the beginning of level 5, and it was up to us. It was up to us, his children, to arrange his funeral, which shifted now the responsibilities from Bomalume, Borangwane, Boramokolo, because they were not within the vicinity of home. So we had to take the reins and arrange the funerals ourselves as his children. And it was immensely difficult for us, because now the regulations were just coming in and all these new rules were just coming in. So for the first couple of days, we felt a bit lost. And we also had our own personal grief to deal with. And we couldn't have close friends, people that have known Dad from when we were in high school, come into the house and offer us comfort. So as much as the financial burden has been lessened in terms of arranging a funeral within the black context, what has increased is the anxiety that we felt as a family, because we could only reach out amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, there was no one outside of the family that we could lean on. And yeah, that was quite stressful to us as a family.
So Lorrain, talk to me then how your perspective has changed on this phenomenon familiar to black South Africa, the cost and obligations associated with burying a loved one. Are funerals as we do them now an unnecessary expense?
I don't think so. I think expenses associated with the funeral are very relative. I mean, if you can afford to give your loved one a huge send-off, a very expensive send-off, then it's all fine. And if you want to keep it modest, low budget, low key, it's also fine. But what has forced me to look at the way that we conduct funerals during this lockdown is the intimacy of the process. Because we don't have the community rallying behind us, we are forced as a family now to come together and work together. And on the day of my dad's burial, it was a handful of people, and the ceremony felt more intimate. It felt more personal. It was less showy. I don't know if showy is the word, but it brought us closer to our dad, and it brought us closer together as a family and also as siblings.
Psychologist says not being able to hold a funeral in real life and grieving with your family and persons close to you afterwards can have an impact long-term in the grieving process. Do you think you were allowed enough grieving process? Are you of the view that that particular process went as it should have happened, and will it have impact on you later on, the fact that you didn't have the whole community set up coming to grieve with you?
I think what it has done for me and my siblings and my mother and my aunt, who's very close to us, she lives a couple of streets away from us, is because there was not that afterwork. You know, after a huge funeral, there are all these pots to wash and all these logistics to navigate. Because we did not have that work to do, we had a lot of time then to come together the day after the funeral. It was just 10, 15 of us in the family, and we could reminisce about Dad, and we could share our pain as a family.